What's up, guys? What's up, guys? It's JJ and
I'm Caleb.
yeah. Welcome back to Winter Circle. College football week 1 is over.
It's over.
So most of the cupcake games that nobody wanted to watch are over. There were a few good games, but
there was one very, very good game. That was the funniest game I've ever watched in college football history. But
LSU fans are overreacting so bad.
they are. I mean, I've seen
so bad.
all the fire Kelly tweets.
They're already trying to fire the dude, and
First off, Brian Kelly was the best hire of the decade.
yeah.
2, it was one game that was a blocked field goal and a couple of muff punts. You really can't blame that on Brian Kelly.
Right.
I think Brian Kelly had the right game plan in place to win that game, and the players just didn't execute. Now, a coach is never going to say the players just didn't
we're
execute.
seeing a lot of what we saw when Mike Leach was hired for Joe Moorhead. You know, he was able to convince a lot of guys to stay and play that year. But after a game or two, once they saw how Leach coached more discipline, same thing. You know, Ogeron, Moorhead, both great recruiters, but when it came to disciplining it, having a disciplined team, and actually winning games on the field when they don't have like the best talent. Yes, Ogeron won a national championship, but I'd say two of the top 5 receivers in the NFL were on that team, and Joe Burrow, who's the top 5 quarterback in the NFL, were all on that team. So you could have thrown Caleb Ladd out there, and they still probably would have won some games.
They probably would have won the national championship.
Still, yeah. I mean, if
Caleb would have had no production.
If there's the same staff that's there under him, and you throw Caleb as head coach, he could have won the national championship with that team.
Yeah,
so
that was literally an NFL.
That's just crazy. We were talking about Florida fans overreacting, and I completely forgot to mention how bad LSU fans overreact, and this is bad.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the one thing I thought was funny. The video of Brian Kelly saying the reporter didn't get there on time.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if you win, I'd get there on time. I mean, I think she's kind of bragging about that on social media now. Like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. You made a good roast. Oh well.
Yeah.
But it was still funny at the time.
It was. So that was a good game.
Great
You also had Florida Utah, which shocked
Very good game.
both of us.
We both missed that game.
Neither of us got to watch the game. We were sitting through a lightning delay that somebody decided to skip out early on. Not going to name names. But so neither one of us really got to watch that game. It was a very good game, from what I've heard.
I went back and watched the highlights.
Yeah.
And Anthony Richardson played very good, and I think that just goes to show the kind of coach that
Billy Napier
is. I mean, I think he got the guys to buy in very quickly once he got there, and Utah is not an easy team to beat.
I still think Utah is a top 10 team. I still think Utah is the best team in the Pac-12.
Oh, well, the Pac-12 sucks, especially Oregon was really the only contest there.
USC is what people are saying.
I forgot about USC, yeah.
But I still have Utah over USC.
I don't know about that. USC also has Oklahoma's team from last year, pretty much. But
yeah,
I think Oklahoma from last year with Caleb Williams at quarterback is better than Utah. But Florida looked very good. And there was a game coming up we're going to talk about later that I had picked one way that now I don't know so much about because
I was going to say, they have Florida in the newest AP poll ranked 12.
That's ridiculous.
I was going to get to we'll jump into that more when we talk about the game, but so those were probably in my thoughts some of the 2 best games. Also, North Carolina and App State.
And
40 points in the fourth quarter combined for App State. Just App State. They had 65.
Yeah,
or was it 62?
Something like that.
60-something points combined in the fourth quarter. And then you had NC State, East Carolina, where NC State probably should have lost that game.
Yeah.
And like I've been saying, NC State was overhyped all preseason. and we saw that this weekend.
It's game 1, and it's the ACC. A team that I think is overhyped, and I think that kind of showed, Clemson. They didn't look that good against
I was
Texas.
just about to get to the next thing we were going to talk about is, let me put my opinion out there and then I'll let you talk on it because I'm pretty sure you'll have a lot of the same one. Clemson's defense. I read a tweet from Brandon Walker, great, amazing Barstool reporter. I love the guy. But yeah, he said, Clemson right now, they look like they have a 12-0 defense. Watching that defense, I think Clemson has the best defense they've had in the past decade. The most talent, the best defense they've had.
Maybe.
It's at least arguable.
Arguable.
I would say they do, but you would say, it's at least, it's up there with all of them.
Yeah, I think the defense, when Deshaun Watson was at the QB, was probably, I don't know, that defense was insane.
I would take this one, but nonetheless, as good of a Clemson defense as they've ever had, and a 4-8 offense.
Yeah. I'll be real, it's time for DJ to not be.
So that was actually what I wrote down on my notes that I was going to kind of bring this in is, I literally have written down Clemson QB ? Because Kate Klubnik came in the last drive and he looked better than DJ did the entire game.
Yeah, he really did. We talked about this before too. It's kind of the same situation as Trevor Lawrence and
Kelly Bryant, but I would argue Kelly Bryant was a better quarterback than DJ is.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think
Kelly Bryant at least won some games and kept Clemson in the playoff.
I think he was more developed than DJ. That has something to do with it, but
all offseason, I was the guy saying, DJ was going to be better and going to be good enough for Clemson this year, especially with their defense. That game, I saw no improvements over last season. His best game he played was the game he had to start his true freshman year against Notre Dame for Trevor Lawrence. That is still the best game he's played, and all last season he was not that guy that we saw in that first game. Because if that guy we saw in that first game his true freshman year, if that guy developed any last year and then over the offseason and this year, that dude's probably a Heisman level candidate.
Absolutely.
But it was that guy in that game, and then it's been a guy that, if you put him in the SEC, 10th, 11th, 9th, the offense, too, not even just his talent. When he's in there, the offense as a whole doesn't
click.
It looks almost like, I was sitting there thinking, is it a system problem? Is it the Clemson system has just worn out? But, it's worked for so long, there's got to be more. Yeah. It's not a system problem. It's a DJ problem, because as soon as Cade Klubnik came in for that last drive, now, Georgia Tech probably didn't have their starters in, maybe. Also, if they did, they weren't playing quite as hard, but still, you could just see the offense ran like we were used to it with Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson. The guy might not, have the talent of those guys that I just named right now, but the offense clicked and looked like it was running better as a whole than it did with DJ.
I got a question for you. The ACC doesn't look good as a whole right now. Do you think, let's say DJ doesn't get any better, but for some reason Dabo keeps him at the starting job, do you think Clemson still wins the ACC with the level of a defense they have?
Right now? Yeah, probably, because I just don't see, with the defense they have, I don't see another team that's gonna, everybody was talking about NC State, and, I didn't think they were
They looked
good.
very bad.
And then they didn't look, East Carolina's not a bad group of 5 team, but they're not I was reading, they were projected to finish 4th in the American, which, once again, is not a bad team necessarily, but it's not
They're a bowl team.
They're a bowl team, but they're a 6-6, 7-5 group of 5 bowl team. They're not, yes, I'd probably say Clemson still wins the ACC. Do they have a chance of getting in the playoffs with DJ? No. With Cade Klubnik, I would still put them, I wouldn't have them in the playoffs necessarily like I did early in the offseason, but I would still have them in the conversation. just because of how good that defense is. And the dude is a 5-star recruit, the top quarterback or one of the top quarterbacks in the country last year. Kind of like Trevor Lawrence, not quite to that degree. I don't think he has quite the talent Trevor did coming in, but it's not that far off. The dude's, he's their better option. If they want to be in playoff talk, he's got to be the quarterback they use going forward.
I agree.
So another quick bit of news that I saw yesterday that I'm actually going to start watching College Game Day again.
I've loved College Game Day.
It's gotten very boring the past few years because Lee Corso has dementia and he's up there. Can't even put Lee Corso is Joe Biden up there trying to talk College Game Day. Okay.
Except I actually like Lee Corso.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about the can't even remember what he said. Sure. Can't even make a full sentence anymore. Herb Street, I've never liked him. Ohio State is the most amazing thing.
Herb Street is the worst person on College Game Day and always has been.
Desmond Fowler's college playoff prediction had to just been to get a reaction, which I think it did that. But did you see it?
Yeah, I love Desmond though.
Yeah, but that was an absolutely terrible thing. David Pollock is, he's whatever. He doesn't bring
whatever.
He doesn't add anything.
What are you talking about? I love David Pollock.
He's okay,
what do you mean?
But I don't know if you saw or know where I'm going with this, but Pat McAfee is going to be on College Game Day now.
Yeah.
I will actually watch and enjoy College Game Day now. Pat McAfee is the best personality in sports media at all right now.
Say what you want about David Pollock, though. There's no one else on college defense who knows College Game Day who knows football better than he does.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying personality-wise, he doesn't add a whole lot to the show. He knows what he's talking about. But, Lee Corso was the personality of that show. Mm-hmm. Now he can't form a full sentence.
He still is the personality of the show.
So with Pat McAfee, in my opinion, if they want to get... and I've seen this online, too, in general, how, 5 years ago, you'd wake up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday just to watch College Game Day.
I still do that.
Now, most people aren't doing that because, it's just not... It gets boring. The crowd sizes that are at game day are dwindling. You can see that every week. But, like I said, Pat McAfee is my favorite personality in sports media in general right now. Not going to get into wrestling on here, but he took over commentating for SmackDown and automatically just made the show actually watchable again.
I never watched SmackDown.
He's also been actually wrestled and is an amazing athlete still. But, so I hope it's not like he's like a interview guy or something. He better be at the desk.
He's not going to be at the desk.
He better be.
He's not.
You're going to hate this, but take David Pollock out, take Desmond out. I don't care.
David Pollock's not at the desk either.
Yeah, he is now. He was Saturday.
He comes to the desk in between takes. The main desk.
He was there at the desk until the picks.
Not the whole time. Not the whole time.
I guess I only watched the last hour.
He's like that every year. Sometimes they'll bring him to the desk, but for the most part of the episode, it's the main four.
But the most talk about College Game Day that I've seen in years has happened in the past day because Pat McAfee has been announced. So I really hope they put him at the desk.
It's better than SEC Nation still. SEC Nation has gotten so bad.
But like you said, Pat McAfee. Like you said. Game Day is still fun to watch, but I have not seen the hype around Game Day except for the past day when I think if they really want the ratings to go up, which is obviously what they're trying to do, put Pat McAfee on the desk or at least have him there in some capacity for the whole show.
Sure.
But, we'll see. I'm glad he's on there. And now, last bit of news before we get into talking about specific games and picks. Lane Kiffin. Luke Altmaier is starting Saturday. Now, granted, it's against Central Arkansas, so how much are we really going to tell? Not much at all.
I think we can tell a little bit. If Ole Miss goes out there and scores every single drive, that kind of tells you something.
Well, but then again, it's Central Arkansas,
Still.
But you put up 28 points against Troy, and that was just off because you were able to out-SEC them and run the ball. Jackson Dart did throw the ball down the field. He had a high completion percentage, but that's because, I mean, it was 10-yard passes at most of the
We
time.
can go back to one of our earlier episodes of Winter Circle, and we and you both said, when we did the SEC quarterback rankings, we both said, Luke Alkmaar should be the starter.
I honestly didn't expect it to be this early, and I do think Luke's the better guy, but I could also see this turning into a back and forth just because Lane Kiffin is nuts. So, or unpredictable might be the better word.
Sure.
I could see him trying a 2 QB system or something weird like that. But yeah, Luke Altmaier's going to be starting this week. Like I said, it's Central Arkansas, so there's really, I mean, you can tell, but it's not like he's facing even a Group of 5 team. It's not even like he's facing Troy. He's facing a D2. I mean, I think they might be an FCS school, but still not a great school. So we'll see. I think I will still. It makes that game at least interesting enough to look up the stats and maybe watch the highlights after.
Yeah. One more thing we should talk about: Iowa and South Dakota State.
Well, we're gonna get into that when we pick Iowa.
Okay.
Later.
We're gonna talk about that.
We'll talk about that. But yeah. So we've got some 10 games we're gonna pick this week. I think we're gonna try to shoot for 10, maybe even more, but at least 10 every week.
And I will put our records right here on the screen. I am ahead of JJ by 2 games right now.
Yeah, I believed in you, LSU and Cincinnati, and
I did not.
I will never do that again. But yeah. So let's start off with the first game. I assume this is where game day is this week.
Bama, Texas.
Yeah,
it is. Texas.
Well, he just said it. Alabama goes to Austin to play Texas. The spread, I don't know if you're aware. I wrote down the spread for all these games after I sent you the list. But Bama minus 20. So tell me your pick, and then I want to know on each of these games, do you think they'll cover the spread? Bama minus 20.
Alabama wins the game and covers the spread easily. I got a 35-point margin.
Wow,
it's not even close. Alabama wins big time.
I was going to say Bama wins pretty convincingly, but I don't think they cover.
You don't think they cover 20 points?
No, I think they win by 2 touchdowns, maybe 17. Texas is a good team, and playing at Texas, like I said, I've got Bama winning, and winning without a doubt. But I don't think they cover.
They cover.
I'm going to pick them to not cover.
I promise they cover.
They very well could. I think the safe answer is to say that they'll cover. But
so you're saying if you were a betting man, you would bet that they cover?
If I was a betting man, I wouldn't put money on this game.
Okay.
Because I'm not a betting man, so I hate taking risks. But yeah, I think Bama wins. It's not really even a close game, but I do think Texas finds a way to get it within 20. I'm saying 17 or 14, so not much, but I think a 20-point spread on this game.
I'm saying 28-35 at least.
Because I think by the end of the year, Texas is a top 10 team.
Okay. And Alabama's the best team in the country by the end of the year. The gap between Alabama, there's like Alabama, Georgia, and every other team.
I'd put Ohio State in the middle of Georgia and everybody else.
That's fair.
I'd still have Alabama and Georgia on a pedestal above Ohio State even.
And everybody else down here. You know, it's those three, everybody else down here. And so it really doesn't matter who's the 8th best, 7th best, 10th best, whatever best. Alabama's. But
I'm saying that, I'm bringing that up as to say, I think Texas does keep it close for how Alabama's scores will be this year. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. South Carolina at Arkansas. The spread here is Arkansas minus 8. I'll let you talk first.
I got Arkansas winning this game. I don't think they cover. I think it's a fourth quarter fight. Arkansas pulls out another close one like they did against Cincinnati. 7-point win, possibly 3-point win, maybe 4, somewhere in that range. I wouldn't be shocked if they won by 10 points, covered the spread, but if I was a betting man, I would not bet on them to cover.
Yeah, I'm taking Arkansas too. South Carolina didn't look good last weekend. Georgia State's not an awful team, but you still didn't. I mean, it was a tie ball game, I think, at halftime. Arkansas wins this game, especially at home, and they cover. I think they cover. Yeah. So, next one we're going to go to. Wake Forest travels to Nashville to play Vandy.
This is such an interesting one.
I'll let you go and then I'll talk.
If Sam Hartman was quarterback, no question, Wake Forest wins this.
Right.
Game. He's not, though. That adds the question to whether or not they win this game. I still think Wake Forest is the better team. I don't know what the spread is.
I also didn't tell you. I was about to tell you the spread. I was like, oh, I didn't tell them the spread. Wake minus 12.5.
I give it to Wake. I think Wake covers the spread. I think they're a better team than Vanderbilt. As much as I want to go on that Vandy hype of they're 2-0, they're number 1 in the SEC right now. I want to keep it going. I think they can win. Vanderbilt wins a decent amount of games by their recent standards, but this isn't one of them. It's a game that they could possibly find a way to pull out, but I've got Wake Forest winning by a couple touchdowns.
So, like he said, before the season, Sam Hartman's still quarterback, and we think Vandy is just as bad as they always are, which I still don't think they're a good team, a good SEC team, but I will say they at least deserve to possibly be mentioned in the SEC East, at least. I don't think there's much separation between them and Missouri anymore.
I don't either.
Before the season, I would have said there's still a lot of separation there, but I really don't. If Sam Hartman's quarterback, and before the season starts, I'm telling you, Wake wins and covers. I'm picking Vandy
to win.
At home, they're in Nashville. Now, I'm going to back that up by saying, last year, Mississippi State traveled to Nashville to play Vandy. I was at that game. Vanderbilt had the atmosphere of a junior high team, and they had about the same number of fans as a junior high team. Mississippi State was the traveling team and probably outnumbered Vanderbilt fans in that stadium 3-1. And I have been in high school stadiums larger than that Vanderbilt stadium.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much you can really say home field advantage matters. Now, also right now, Vandy, you've looked good in the first 2 games. Maybe you get a little more support than you were mid-season last year. Also, Vandy is the doctor lawyer school that with international students that could care less about football. I'm pretty sure they did not have a student section. That they did for a little while, and it was about 20 people. So home field advantage is not a big deal at Vandy, but I don't know. I think Vandy.
He's got a feeling.
I've got Vandy winning this game.
He's going for the upset, and I'm going to go 3 games ahead of him because it's not.
Yeah, I'm very scared about that.
It's
but
not going to happen.
I don't even know if I'd call it that much of an upset anymore. I mean, the spread, obviously, it would be probably considered an upset, but I definitely don't think Wake covers.
I could see there being someone on College Game Day who takes this game as their super dog pick.
Yeah, I definitely do not think Wake covers.
I think Wake covers.
I don't see. Like I said, I could be very wrong, but I don't see Wake covering. I don't see there's a chance of Wake covering.
Okay.
I could see Wake winning the game. That wouldn't shock me at all. But we'll see. Next game we're going to talk about Tennessee at Pitt. Spread for this one, it's in Pittsburgh, and the spread is Tennessee minus 6. So yeah, I'll let you go first.
It's not a weird one. It's just such a close one that either way, I'm not shocked by the outcome unless one team just obliterates the other team. Then I'm pretty shocked. But I don't know. For some reason, I think Tennessee pulls out a close one. I think they're a better team than Pittsburgh, and I don't think they cover. I think it's a possible overtime victory, 4th quarter fight at least. So I got Tennessee.
Tennessee wins this game and covers, and it's not really a close game. I mean, score-wise, it's going to look like a close game, but I don't think it's ever going to be really in doubt. Pitt did. I didn't change my mind at all about Pitt last week. They shouldn't have even won that game.
I agree. They shouldn't have won the game.
The only reason they won is the West Virginia receiver who had cooked them the entire game decided to then drop a pass and it goes into the hands of a DB. So they shouldn't have won that game. West Virginia is a bowl team, I think, in my opinion, especially with JT Daniels at quarterback.
I think they're a little better than a bowl team.
Yeah, I think they're a 7-win team. Maybe 8.
Yeah.
But Pitt, yeah, we both said it all season
that they're overrated.
That they're very overrated, and if anything, it just made me feel more like they're way overrated. Tennessee is going to win this game and cover.
I still think Tennessee wins. I don't think they cover though. I think it's a closer game than yours.
So we're going to skip the next one on our list, and we'll talk about it last because that was the.
Okay.
You may have already had it on your list. I don't know if
I had it last.
Okay. Next game. Baylor travels to Provo, Utah to play BYU, and the spread here is BYU -3.
Now I haven't looked at the polls yet. Is BYU still ranked?
21.
They jumped. Mm-hmm. Baylor wins this game. Baylor's defense is going to be too much for BYU to move the ball against, even in Provo. I know it's not an easy place to go and play in, but
trust me, we know.
I still think Baylor gets the job done.
Baylor wins this game and covers. BYU did look good last weekend. They beat USF like 55-10, I think.
It's USF.
But USF used to be a very good Group of 5 team. They are not anymore.
They haven't been since Charlie Strong got there.
Yeah. Baylor wins this game and covers. Baylor wins by at least a touchdown.
Sure.
Next game. Missouri goes to Kansas State. The spread on this game is K-State -7.5.
K-State wins this game and covers. K-State wins this game and covers. It's not a debate, John James. Don't say it.
Yeah.
Come on, John James.
I did some digging.
You know better.
K-State doesn't have a quarterback.
They don't need one to beat Missouri.
K-State does have one of the best running backs in the country in Deuce Vaughn. K-State only beat South Dakota 34-0 last weekend. Now we look at what Missouri did. Missouri played a Louisiana Tech team who is definitely much better than South Dakota and wins 52-24.
Missouri wins this game.
I'm
going to be
so needless to say,
ahead of JJ.
So needless to say, K-State doesn't cover. And even if K-State does win this game, they don't cover.
Okay. We'll see.
Missouri's 5-star receiver, Luther Burden, was an animal against Louisiana Tech. Basically, all they got to do is get the guy the ball. We know it's Big 12. They don't play defense. So, K-State, yes, you have Deuce Vaughn, but he's going to have to run against still an SEC defense. And you don't have a quarterback, so you can't throw the ball. So, taking Missouri in a close one.
Yeah, I disagree with you big time, but that's okay.
So, next one. A game I wish I was at. I wish I was going to it. I wish we were flying out tonight.
Just because you can take a cowbell in the stadium.
No, I was wanting to go to this game before that. Arizona is a great... Well, for one, Arizona is one of the best party schools in the country.
Because you're such a big partier, John James.
Two, Arizona's just, from what I've heard, a gorgeous campus, gorgeous place. Tucson, Arizona is a great place to travel.
I have heard that. I have heard that.
And I'm going to go ahead and give away my pick. You get to see Mississippi State beat a Power 5 team. And you get to bring a cowbell in a visiting stadium. We don't get to do that very often.
Ever.
So,
I'm never
ever.
going to do that.
We've gotten to for bowl games, but we've never, so, I'm going to go ahead and just talk since I've already said my pick. Mississippi State, I expect the Mississippi State fans that are there to be louder than the Arizona fans, just due to the fact they'll have cowbells. If you've never been to Starkville, do it.
Do it.
Especially for a stadium that size, it is a top 5 loudest stadium in the country.
Absolutely.
on a game night where, where you're play. I mean, I'd put Alabama up there.
I'll be real. I went to Bryant-Denny Stadium in 2014 when Mississippi State was number 1 in the country.
That place was loud.
I would say Mississippi State has been louder than that. I mean, I'm not saying Alabama hasn't. That's the loudest Alabama's ever been. I don't know. But Mississippi State, when they played Florida and Dan Mullen's return, Mississippi State when they played Auburn in 2014.
That game right there is the loudest game
I would say
I've ever been to.
I would say those games were louder than that Bryant-Denny Stadium.
A&M. I gotta go A&M.
I've never been there. So
A&M, I've been there, and it is, for people with just their voices, the large concrete structure that, I mean, it is the largest stadium, I want to say, in the country. If not, somebody might have passed them.
I think Neyland Stadium was bigger. I think Neyland Stadium is the biggest college football.
I don't know, but A&M is definitely one of the biggest. I would argue it definitely in like surface area, amount of concrete poured into that thing. The place was shaking like it was an earthquake.
Okay, so Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State, based on number of seats, is bigger. And Texas A&M's 4th.
But A&M, definitely up there. But Starkville, I'm gonna say 2014 Auburn, Dan Mullen's return. They're up there with all of those.
Absolutely.
And with 40 to 50,000 less people.
Because of the Cowboys.
And I do know there are quite a few Mississippi State students and fans. Definitely a bunch of Mississippi State fans that I know of that are going to be at that game. A lot of it is older retired people. So if they got the message that they could bring cowbells is the one thing I'm worried about. Because I saw it's being posted around and I saw it on Twitter. But if they do have cowbells, I could see the Mississippi State fans at least rivaling the Arizona fans in pure loudness.
We'll see. But
I've got Mississippi State, and they cover. The spread is 10.5.
Yeah. I got Mississippi State. I think they also cover, but I think it's closer up until around third quarter.
I think the first half could definitely be a close game.
Yeah. But
I don't think Arizona keeps up in the second half.
After seeing what Mississippi State was able to do coming out of the locker room after a 2.5-hour rain delay, the game didn't get over until after midnight.
Right.
I think the 10 p.m. our time start is that big of an
If
effect.
Mississippi State comes out and plays like they did like they came out Saturday, this game's not close at all ever. But being a Mississippi State fan, I know Mississippi State, and they aren't going to come out that pumped up against a Arizona team that is a Power 5 team, but a team that is 1-11 against Power 5 schools in the last 2 years.
There was more motivation for that Memphis game. Also.
Yes.
I
see Mississippi State possibly sleepwalking into the game. They get woke up and they cover at least 2 touchdowns.
I wouldn't be shocked if Arizona scores on the first drive that they get, honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. But like I said, it depends on, if Mississippi State comes out like they did Saturday, Mississippi State is up at least 2 touchdowns at halftime and wins the game by at least 4.
Yeah.
But if Mississippi State comes out how I expect Mississippi State to come out, they do end up covering by the end of the game, but it's a close game for at least a half.
I agree.
Next game. Iowa State at Iowa. Iowa is minus 3.5 is the spread.
That's a good spread for this game. It should be the other way around. I got Iowa State taking this game. It's close, but I got Iowa State taking this game. Iowa State's a better team than South Dakota State. Yeah. Not that South Dakota State's a bad team. They're like the second best FCS school.
No, that's North Dakota State you're thinking of. North Dakota State is the FCS school that absolutely destroys everybody.
That's true, but South Dakota State's also a very, very good one.
I don't know.
I'll look up the rankings real quick.
But South Dakota State is I do think they're a good FCS team. I might be wrong on that too, but South Dakota State.
North Dakota State's number 1. South Dakota State's number 2. So.
But you can't even score a touchdown against an FCS school. I don't care how good your defense is. And Iowa's defense is one of the best in the country. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But if your offense can't score a touchdown at home against an FCS school, you're not going to beat Iowa State. Even though Iowa State did lose a lot, Matt Campbell is a great coach. He's built Iowa State into a perennial bowl team from being the laughingstock of the Big 12.
He has.
Yeah, Iowa State wins this game.
I agree. Iowa
State wins this game.
They cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're gonna score 7 points, but on 2 safeties and a field goal against the FCS team at home, and then you're gonna tell me you're gonna beat your rival
on the road.
No, it's at Iowa.
Never mind.
But still, you're gonna tell me you're gonna beat your rival in a good Power 5 team.
Yeah. No.
A bowl caliber at least Power 5 team. No. So next game we're gonna talk about USC. They go to Stanford. Spread is USC minus 8.5.
I got USC covering.
Yeah.
That's enough said.
USC started very slow last weekend. I think after the first quarter it was tied 7-7. I think the final score ended up being like 66-10 or something. 60-something to 10. 60. It was either 63.
A lot to a little.
63-66 to 10. Like you said, a lot to a little. They got going. Stanford hadn't been good in years, which is sad because they used to be a very good team and a very fun team, very fun, hard-nosed team to watch, but they haven't been good in years.
Yeah.
USC wins this game, and like you said, I would take them to cover too. So, now, the last game that we're going to talk about on the weekend, and I guess technically if we were picking College Game Day, where we think probably the biggest game of the week is, it's not Bama, Texas. That game's probably not going to be that close. It's Kentucky as they go to Florida. I'll let you talk first, and then I'll come in and give my thoughts.
If you would have asked me this 2 weeks ago,
yeah,
I would have said Kentucky.
Yeah.
But seeing how good Florida looked, I'd say Florida was one of the better-looking SEC teams of the week, considering who they were
I'm
playing.
still not bought into the Florida hype. I'm bought into that they're better than we thought they were going to be. Like I said, they're ranked at number 12 right now.
We can agree that's too much. I think top 25 is fair.
They should have been in the 20 range.
I agree.
Which Kentucky is 20. I probably would have had Florida around maybe 20 and Kentucky 21. Or something like that.
I agree. 12 is too big of a jump to just not being ranked. I get you could beat a top 10 school, but it was week
one at home.
That's week 1 games. You never know.
Yeah.
I really don't know because Kentucky, we know, is.
Put it this way: Chris Rodriguez is still not playing.
Yeah.
From what I've read, there's a chance, but Kentucky still has not said. It's looking more and more likely that he's not playing.
I have a pick here that I picked earlier today, and I think I just have to stick with it. I've been going back and forth on it since I made this initial pick, but I think I just have to stick with this pick. I think the Gators make a big defensive stop in the fourth quarter, and I think Florida wins the game.
All right, so the spread is Florida -6, by the way.
I don't think they cover. I think it's a 4-point game. Kentucky's driving down the field on the last drive, trying to get a touchdown, and I think
so. A lot like how last week ended.
Yeah.
Florida at Kentucky, like he said 2 weeks ago, I said this isn't a close game. I definitely think it's a close game, and I still believe Kentucky is the better team.
I agree.
Because I'm not buying into the Florida hype. I will say they are much better than we thought they were going to be. I think originally in my preseason prediction, I didn't even have them making a bowl game. I think I had them at 5-7.
Mm-hmm.
I have them winning probably 8 games now.
Yeah.
If this is not at Florida, I've got a completely different mindset on it. I think Will Levis is still one of the best quarterbacks. I would still take Will Levis over Anthony Richardson.
I agree. Will Levis is a better quarterback.
Kentucky didn't look great, especially to start the game last weekend, but even when Kentucky didn't look great last weekend, Will Levis still was on point and looked very good. So really, I still wanted to take Kentucky all day, but I just can't. And I think a lot of the factor is being at Florida off a really good win because, I've seen and, I haven't been to the Swamp in years, but I can see from what I can see on TV, the Swamp is not the place to play that it used to be. It's not the intimidating fans are right on you, scary place that it used to be. But having said that, that was because like last year they were not very good, or not very good to Florida fan standard. I still think they won 8 games last year.
I think it was like 6
or maybe 7, but they still were a bowl team last year, and so. But I do think off of a top 10 loss, and this is an SEC opponent. I don't know what time the game is at, but I think it will be a very loud, very tough place to play. So I'm taking Florida as well.
Florida won 6 games last year, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still a bowl team. You're not awful. But yeah, like I said, still think Kentucky is the better team, especially once Chris Rodriguez is back. But Saturday, and especially with Will Levis, like I said, I would take him over Anthony Richardson still. If I was picking a quarterback and you gave me those 2 to pick, I'd still pick Will Levis. I think Florida's too much at home. I have Florida winning this game.
I agree.
That was a tough one to pick, especially when, we've only seen one game,
Yeah.
Florida coming off of an emotional high, a close game against a top 10 team that you win. You think about, is there some hangover going into next week, which is very possible. Kentucky, you played Miami of Ohio. Didn't look great the first half. Then you return the opening kickoff the second half and kind of run away with it. And the score ends up looking pretty similar to what we thought it would. But yeah, I've got Florida. I think Florida wins this game. But I would not be shocked to see it go the other way. Like you said, I've gone back and forth. I can make an argument for either team to win this game. So,
to me, this is the game of the week.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's why we did it last. That's why I wanted to do it last. I think.
Like if we had a college game day desk, our helmets would be Florida and Kentucky.
Yeah, we thought about doing mini helmets, but then we also figured out you probably couldn't make out who it was or anything. So this is the only bigger helmet we have. College football week 1. I'm going to Ruston for Louisiana Tech versus Stephen F. Austin. Not very excited about it, but I get paid for it, so I don't really care. I get paid to go watch football, even if it is probably going to be a bad game. But let's move over to some NBA news, some huge NBA news that I made a short about. So if you haven't gone and watched it, I believe it's still on the channel.
Yeah,
shorts don't disappear, do they?
They're supposed to, but they haven't yet.
So
maybe YouTube changed their rules.
Yeah, it's still on the channel. My initial reaction, that was before we even saw what all was in the trade.
Yeah.
As soon as I got the notification, I filmed a quick short in my truck on the way to Birmingham to do another game that I had last weekend. But yeah, I knew I just wanted to get something out there on that because it's huge news. Donovan Mitchell has been traded to Cleveland for 3 unprotected first-round picks, 2 first-round pick swaps, Laurie Marketing, Ochi Abaji. I know I just butchered his name.
Correct.
I know I got the last name right. I don't know about the first name.
I had to look it up.
The last name I think I got right. First name I have no clue. And Colin Sexton, along with those 5 picks.
But do you know who wins the trade at the end of the day?
Both teams.
No, the Cavaliers win this trade at the end of the day. Do you know when those picks are for?
No.
Some of them are 2025. There's one that's 2029.
Okay.
The Jazz are about to be irrelevant for the next 3 years. Okay?
It's the Jazz. They're used to being irrelevant. They were only relevant the past 3 or 4 years since they got Donovan Mitchell.
They're going to be irrelevant for another however many years. It's a bad move. The Jazz have been stupid this entire offseason. You basically said you had a guy like Donovan Mitchell, who I think with the right pieces around can lead a team to a playoff win, even possibly a championship. I think he's that good. But you basically said you had no faith in that guy. Then you trade away Rudy Gobert, take away all of his pieces. Do you expect Donovan Mitchell to want to stay? Obviously not. Donovan Mitchell did what was best for him, and in this case, I respect it because of how the Jazz acted in this. It's different than the Kevin Durant situation because Kevin Durant caused the problems in Brooklyn. Donovan Mitchell didn't cause the problems in Utah.
But I do think once they traded Rudy Gobert, it was just a matter of time. They were planning to trade Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
I think they knew. I think they hoped Donovan would want to stay, but I think they knew he wouldn't. So I wouldn't say Utah handled it bad.
I think they handled it bad. Based on the reports I've seen, I think they handled it bad. And I think Donovan Mitchell's a perfect fit in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I'll be real. I like Cleveland. I'll be honest. They're not the best franchise. They're one of the worst franchises in terms of ownership and stuff like that.
And they had LeBron play there.
I know you hate LeBron. I'm not the biggest LeBron fan. I think you hate on him a little too much. I didn't go for him when he was in Cleveland, but I like Cleveland as a whole. And I think they have one of the best young cores in the league. And you add a guy like Donovan Mitchell, who's still young but has a lot of experience still. I think this is a great. Him and Darius Garland are going to tear up the league. You also got Jared Allen, who was an All-Star last year.
And Evan or Isaiah Mobley?
One of the two Mobleys.
One of the Mobleys.
Either way, I mean, this is a playoff caliber team that Cleveland has now. They lost a play-in game last year, and now they just took a big step with Donovan Mitchell. They're a 5-4 seed team.
Yeah.
This year,
maybe
in the
even
playoffs,
3,
possibly. And knowing the state of the West, the best teams other than the Celtics, you got the Nets and the Sixers. Those are wobbly teams at best because you never know how Joel Embiid.
And you got the Bucks.
And the Bucks. I forgot about the Bucks.
See, I was putting Bucks, Celtics, and then I've got Nets and Cavs and Sixers all in that next year.
Yeah, because with the Nets, you never know when Kyrie or KD are going to play.
Yeah.
You never know. For the Sixers, you never know how James
And they've
Harden
shown the past few years that you can't just. I think they can. I think you can't just automatically start playing in the playoffs together.
Yeah.
If they play with each other throughout the regular season and then go into the playoffs, I think they're a much better team. That I would put them as a championship contender.
They still are.
If that happens.
It's just if that happens is the thing. And regardless of whether or not that happens, the Cavs, I think, have the perfect core right now. Not only to make the playoffs this year, but to get better. Because you're developing this young core around a guy like Donovan Mitchell, who I think can lead a team to a championship. You also got Miami to worry about, too.
Right.
But the East is not near as tough as the West is. And now you got Donovan Mitchell in the West. And he's a guy, I think, who, not in the West, the East. I think he's a guy who can take over the East.
Yeah, he is. I say both teams win this trade because the Cavs, like you said, I agree with everything you said. This is a great move for them. He fits perfectly along with their young core. They've got two long bigs in Mobley and Jared Allen. And then you've got Darius Garland to run point and Donovan Mitchell to be the scorer.
Yep.
I think this is a perfect setup for them. Going to the Jazz side, not going to get back in this argument with you, but you say Sylvester Croom was a good coach at Mississippi State because he did his job. This trade does its job for the Jazz. They get Larry Markkinen, who is still a really good young modern big, who can shoot 7 foot, who can shoot.
Yeah.
He is when he's playing at his best, he's a fringe all-star. Colin Sexton, who is a future all-star.
Injury-prone all-star.
Maybe, but I think if he stays healthy, he's an all-star.
Maybe.
Fringe at least. Very good player.
Yeah.
And then you get the Cavs a lottery pick from this year, Abaji, who was one of the best players in college basketball last season, who is a freak athlete who can also shoot and just outstanding offensive player. So you get all of those guys who are still all young, and plus you're now going the Oklahoma City Thunder route, where between the Rudy Gobert trade and this trade, I don't care when the picks are for, even if you use them as trade capital eventually, you've got draft picks and capital for days.
That's true.
So I'm not saying they necessarily, it's even equal talent and value-wise, but for the Jazz, I think this is a great move because it does what they needed. They wanted picks or young players, and they got both.
I'm not disagreeing that it does what they wanted. I don't think it's what they needed. I don't think the Jazz are going to be able to hold a core long enough to let those picks liquidate, whether it's in trades or whether it's an actual pick.
Colin Sexton did sign a 4-year extension as soon as he got there.
But that doesn't mean he can't request a trade eventually. I mean, the Jazz make people mad. It's what they do. Nobody likes playing. You can go look at reports all over the NBA. Nobody likes traveling to Utah because there's nothing to do. They always say it's their least favorite place to go. Players don't like living in Utah. Nobody likes Utah for whatever reason, and they want out most of the time.
Okay.
But, I mean, I don't think the Jazz can hold a core long enough to let those picks liquidate them.
They've obviously held this core for 3 or 4 years and saw that it was not going to work, so they just decided to blow it up and do what was best for Donovan Mitchell, for Rudy Gobert, and for themselves.
And I think if this core with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell can't work, I don't think they're going to find a core that can work unless you get a guy like
they might not, but
KD or
even
Steph.
But I mean, the Jazz, even the year that they were, I think they were the 1 seed one year, and they still lost in the second round. That core was not getting out of the second round because there was nobody on that core that was a great perimeter defender.
I don't think they're going to find a core that's going to do that, but
I think, you made it to the Western Conference Finals. That was as far as that core was going to take you.
Okay.
So I think what Utah wanted, it's good, and for what the Cavs got, it makes them I would say a championship contender, probably a fringe championship contender, but definitely a contender.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we'll see, but I think both teams I definitely think the Jazz got a great. If they were going to have to trade Donovan Mitchell, that was a great. I don't know if they'd have gotten much of a better package anywhere else. Definitely not from the Knicks, because the Knicks don't even have.
As soon as the Knicks signed R.J. Barrett, there was no way.
Unless the Knicks wanted to give up R.J. Barrett,
there was
no way they were getting.
There was no possible way.
Donovan Mitchell, because
and it makes me.
There's no player on the Knicks roster aside from R.J. Barrett that even holds the value, in my opinion, of any of the 3 players the Jazz got.
I'd say possibly Kemba Walker.
Kemba Walker's old and washed up.
I wouldn't say that. I think Kemba Walker still has some talent, but that's the only other one I would say.
I wouldn't want Julius Randle because he's almost 30 at this point, and
I agree.
It's proven that he can't win.
Evan Fournier.
Kind of like Russell Westbrook, people can't win around him.
Evan Fournier.
But he's also getting old.
He's still a good player. Either way, this makes me happy because I don't like the Knicks. It's just that every single time the Knicks fail to get a big player in free agency,
and you see Stephen A. Smith have a meltdown. It's amazing.
It gets funnier every single time.
Because it's like at this point, nobody's going to go to the Knicks. But every time there's a big free agent, the Knicks are always thrown in there. And, all right, so we're going to close the show with a little bit of baseball.
We're a month away from October,
so
I'm excited. It's my favorite time of the year. And
what I put outside on my notes here was MLB. The Braves are closing in on the NL East. Really?
The Braves took the lead.
Last I saw, they were a game back, and they were. I mean,
after the Mets lost to the Nationals, they lost one more game. To the Mets. I'll go check because I don't.
Yeah, pull it up.
I haven't paid attention to recent games, but last I saw an update, the Braves took over.
Yeah, pull it up because I know last I saw they were a game to a half game back, but I mean,
they are a half game back again.
Yeah, so they're a half game back, but still. I want to say last episode they were 4 back already.
Yeah, I mean, they closed the gap, and part of that is the Mets lost to the Nationals.
Yeah.
They
lost a series to the Nationals, I think. Yeah.
The whole series. They might have even gotten swept. I don't know.
Yeah. But you can't do that if you're trying to be a World Series contender.
You can't. And it makes me so happy because I hate the Mets. And something really funny did happen, though. The Nationals tweeted at the Empire State Building after they won the series, and they said, just use the Giants colors for us. And then the Empire State Building tweeted back, we have double the amount of floors that you have wins. And it made me laugh really hard. The Nationals suck. And they just got burned by a building. But we're going back to what we're talking about.
So yeah,
that's a huge blow for the Mets because losing to the worst team or one of the worst teams in the league.
I would argue the worst team.
Possibly the worst team. I'm trying to see. They have the worst record in the league right now. That's tough.
Yeah.
And you got the
That's
Braves.
tough is an understatement.
You got the Braves breathing down your neck, and I know at one point the Braves were ahead, or at least tied for the first.
And I think the Braves end up winning the division.
The Braves, we've been saying it for a while.
I said it back when they were like 9-10 games back.
The Braves win the division. Like, it's a wrap at this point.
They're just a better team, honestly. And the scary part is Acuna's in a slump right now, and the Braves are still winning games. It's like every time the Braves call somebody up, it's just like they struck gold. Michael Harris has been amazing and kind of honestly a little bit came out of nowhere. Vaughn Grissom, you call him up, and he was not necessarily viewed as a top prospect necessarily. You call him up because Ozzie Albies is injured, and he hits a bomb in his first game at Fenway Park.
Yeah. Baller move.
Spencer Strider kind of came out of nowhere, and he's probably going to win NL Rookie of the Year. If not, he's going to be very close in voting. It's crazy to see how that always seems to happen with the Braves. I honestly love it. But yeah.
Of course, you're a Braves fan. But if we're going to look at the rest of the National League, let's say, as of right now, the winners of the division are the Mets, the Cardinals, and the Dodgers. Obviously, we both think the Braves are going to pass the Mets and win the division. And then the wild cards, you have the Braves and the Dodgers right now. No, not the Dodgers, sorry, the Padres.
Yeah.
The Padres.
I think Mets and Padres are your two wild card teams. Braves, Cardinals, and Dodgers win the division.
However, the Padres are only one game ahead of the Phillies, and they're only 4 games ahead of the Brewers. Which there's a month left in baseball.
Yeah, but I would still say the Padres.
I mean, it's possible. I don't know. If I was a betting man, I'd bet the Padres. And I think if the Padres
How many times have you said the phrase, if I was a betting man?
A lot.
Yeah.
Continue. And I think the Padres have the best chances of a wild card team to make a run to the World Series. I think if the Padres make the playoffs, teams in the National League should be scared because they got the talent to make a run like that.
I do like, as a Braves fan, the Dodgers' domination in a way because that means they'll play the wild card team and we get the Cardinals.
That's true. It's the same way with me and the Yankees because.
So let's shift over to the AL right there.
Because the Astros are X amount of games ahead of the Yankees, and the Yankees had the worst. August was the worst month in Yankees history since the '60s. It was the worst month they've had in a very long time, and therefore I don't think they're going to have a chance of catching up to the Astros. But that means that the Astros would get the wild card of the Rays, the Blue Jays, the Orioles, or the Mariners. All of those are pretty neck and neck. The Mariners and the Rays are tied right now.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays are 1 game back, and 4 games back from them are the Orioles. And as for the Yankees, they're either going to get the Guardians or the Twins, whoever wins the Central, and they're 1 game away from sweeping the Twins right now. And the Guardians, they have beat the Guardians time and time again this year. And
The
Guardians of the Galaxy, and
they're the Indians.
And so, to the same point with the domination that the Astros have been having, the Yankees are going to get an easier team to play than say the Astros because I still think the Mariners are going to be one of those wild card teams
that are scary.
And I
think they are less scary to the Astros than they are to the Yankees, though.
Absolutely. The Yankees have struggled all year against the Mariners. For whatever reason, that's like the one team the Yankees can't seem to beat. And
the Yankees haven't been able to beat a lot of teams lately.
I'm just talking about all year in general.
Oh yeah, at the beginning of the year they were amazing.
At the beginning of the year, the Mariners were like that one team the Yankees couldn't beat, and it's been like that all year.
The Mariners just got better.
And yeah, they did get better. And the Mariners are 8-10 in their last 8-2 in their last 10.
8-10 in their last 10.
So the Mariners are definitely more scary for the Yankees. So the Yankees getting the 2nd seed it makes me happy because I think the Yankees have a chance at the World Series this year.
Yeah.
And earlier this year, you were predicting the Yankees were going to win the whole thing.
I did.
Do you still feel that way?
No.
No, I don't. I've never felt that way. I think they're going to choke eventually, but
I would take the Dodgers, the Astros, the Braves. And I could probably even make a longer list of people I'd take over the Yankees at this point.
I think the Yankees are about to have an explosive September. Say what you want. When you have a month like that, there's got to be some kind of turnaround.
I think they will have a better month in September than they did August.
Okay, sure. I think they're going to have an explosive month. They're already off to a hot start in September right now. They got Oswaldo Pereza, if I said his last name right, called up.
Yeah, but Aaron Boone said IKF's the dude shortstop.
Yeah, but they put Oswaldo out in right field, and he made a heck of a throw to get
Well,
a
that's
guy trying to
because
catch a
Stanton
double.
is once again hurt.
Even though Stanton is hurt, Oswaldo took up the role with the bat, hit a walk-off in the bottom of the 12th.
Yep.
Um,
Like I said, I still don't think they win the World Series. There are a few teams I would take above them.
I don't see him taking the World Series either, but it's still exciting to watch as a Yankees fan, and October is right around the corner.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite time of the year. So,
yeah. So this week we had 2 episodes. This is my first one of the week. I had the string bean on here. The long
D1 athlete.
the multi-sport D1 athlete, might I add.
Yep.
Caleb Samuel Ladd. And
co-host of the Peach Crisp Show and of Caleb AM.
yeah. So great plug to go watch all the shows on the channel. Subscribe so you see when any of our shows come out. Got a show that comes out every day, except for Sunday. Yeah, what he said. Like the video, all of that stuff. All of our socials will be down below. Yeah, so we'll see y'all next week. Schedule, we'll have to figure some stuff out. But yeah, so we may have to pre-record some episodes, but that'll be okay. You won't see any difference, so see y'all next week.
You won't see any difference, but we're just going to tell you guys that there's going to be a difference.
Yeah.